Canelo has the weight, he's been fighting this game in this division for a very long time, and he can punch. But Crawford can box. It doesn't matter what weight he is, as long as you don't touch him. That's all there is to it. Just like Mayweather did. But it is going to be a big difference between getting hit and then getting hit with the bigger fighter, right? So that's just how it's going to look like, how it's going to change his mindset. But if he continue to be who he is, that we've seen him using in boxing and not getting hit with punch, I think that it's going to be a hell of a fight that can be changed. It can change a trajectory on how the fight.
Sergio Mora initially leaned toward Canelo, believing the size difference would be too much for Crawford to overcome. Having followed Canelo's career for years, Mora felt that while Crawford is supremely talented, he was simply too small for the challenge. But his perspective shifted after seeing Crawford up close. Mora noted how much stronger Crawford looked in person, and even pointed to his wrestling background as proof of his toughness. He also highlighted Crawford's versatility, his ability to switch stances seamlessly and adapt mid-fight. According to Mora, if Crawford employs a strategy similar to Dimitri Bivol or Floyd Mayweather, using sharp movement, a stiff jab, and disciplined footwork, he could create serious problems for Canelo inside the ring.
All day, just size matters in this sport. I've been covering Canelo for a long time. Crawford is an incredible talent, but he's too small. That's the thing that I kept thinking. Then I started seeing Crawford bulk up. I started seeing him in person, and you got to realize this guy has a wrestling background. He's stronger than he looks. I mean, he's an incredible fighter from both stances. And if he takes a little bit of a page of the Bivol of Floyd Mayweather Jr. and the guys that have given Canelo problems, movers, stickers, long jab, I can see Crawford doing all that. Crawford is a generational
As the fight draws nearer, Mora admitted his confidence is shifting toward Crawford. He described Crawford as a generational talent, an all-time great who might not need a knockout to get the job done. In his eyes, a decision win is well within reach. Mora pointed out that Canelo's last performance didn't impress him, especially in terms of how he cut off the ring. He explained that Crawford won't be running, but he'll use just enough movement to create openings, landing clean shots from both stances while relying on his superior reach and ring IQ. He also emphasized Crawford's edge, calling him mean in the ring, a fighter who competes with a chip on his shoulder. Mora concluded by saying that Crawford has the tools to shock the world. That's how special he is.
This fight gets, the more I'm starting to look at Crawford and be like, Crawford might beat him. Crawford might do something. I mean, we'll knock him out, but he won't. I think he'll win a decision nowadays. Yeah, I think he'll probably win a decision.
You think he'll be able to take Canelo's power?
I wasn't really like many people. I wasn't impressed with Canelo's last fight. Cutting off the ring, and Bud's not a mover like that. He's not going to be running around the ring. But he is going to move, and he's going to watch out you from both sides. He's going to use his length, going to use his reach, and he's mean. Bud is mean, man. Bud has a chip on his shoulder too. He's great as well. So yeah, the closer this fight gets, the more I start looking at Bud and be like, he might do it. He just might do it. That's how great he is.
Bill Haney called Canelo versus Crawford the biggest fight in boxing right now. The kind of matchup so monumental that even Muhammad Ali would have been talking about it if he were still here. Haney praised Crawford for daring to step up and take on such a massive challenge, but he also stressed that this clash isn't just about pure boxing skill. In his view, Crawford will have to contend with more than technique. Canelo's size and raw power are factors that could heavily influence the fight.
Biggest fight, in boxing right now. Canelo and Crawford. Crawford stepping up. Man, it's so big, you got Muhammad over there saying something about it. That's how big it is. He came off the bench from the 60s, right, Muhammad? You go back in the 60s? Yeah, well, listen. 60 years of boxing. Canelo is big. And shout out to Crawford stepping up. But does Crawford have to be worried about more things than just boxing?
Bruce Carrington made it clear his backing Crawford, saying he gives him a real shot at pulling off the win. In his view, Crawford's movement, defensive awareness, and overall ring craft could present major problems for Canelo, potentially forcing the Mexican star to constantly chase him around the ring. Carrington did highlight one area of concern though, Canelo's straight right hand, particularly against southpaws. He reminded fans how effective that weapon has been in the past, pointing to Canelo's success against fighters like Austin Trout. For Crawford, Carrington explained, avoiding that shot when setting up his jab will be crucial.
Going for Bud, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that Bud has a huge chance of winning. His style is just, something that is going to be a huge problem for Canelo Alvarez. I feel like he has good enough feet to make Canelo have to run to him. I feel like he has good form and discipline with his defense. Good enough. Because sometimes Bud, he has little lapses. But, and we've seen it in the Majimov fight. That what I would want Bud to look out for is that dip straight right hand when he's in a southpaw stance. If that comes at him from Canelo Alvarez, because he was caught by that a few times with Majimov. Whenever he would throw his right jab, Majimov would duck to his right and then throw his straight right hand and catch him straight on the line. And I noticed that Canelo is pretty good with that when it comes to fighting southpaw fighters. He dropped Austin Trout with that.
Carrington also acknowledged the physical gap between the two. He reminded fans that Canelo is naturally the bigger man, with proven knockout power and even a championship run at light heavyweight, which makes him dangerous for someone moving up like Crawford. Still, Carrington feels the matchup will ultimately be decided by strategy, not size. He sees Crawford's adaptability and fight IQ as the keys, and predicts the most likely scenario is Crawford edging out a win on the scorecards.
Two things that you have to look at, and then on top of that, the obvious thing, the size. How Canelo's naturally bigger than Crawford. He packs a punch. He was a champion at 175. So if he's able to affect guys at that weight class, he's able to affect guys that's, his size or smaller. So it's like, at the end of the day, it's who's going to come with the best game plan. But I feel like naturally, Bud has a chance to win for sure.
So what's the most realistic scenario you think plays out in the fight?
Bud by this.
John Ryder admitted that if anyone has the skill set to challenge Canelo, it's Terence Crawford, given his versatility and talent. Even so, Ryder doesn't believe Crawford can fully bridge the size gap. Drawing from his own time in the ring with Canelo, Ryder recalled landing solid punches that didn't seem to faze the Mexican star. For him, Canelo's physical strength and natural size advantage will likely be the key difference once the fight happens, creating a steep uphill battle for Crawford.
The man that could do it would be Terence Crawford, but I just think the sheer size of Canelo is going to be too much on the line.
So do you think size will be too much? I mean, you were in there with Canelo. You landed good shots and he took them, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Terence Crawford is an exceptional talent, but I think the size will be the factor on the night, and it'd just be too big, too strong.
Tim Tszyu noted that both Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford are working hard to establish themselves as the dominant figure in this matchup, each projecting their own kind of confidence. He said this type of energy is natural when two global stars collide, as both want to assert control before ever stepping in the ring. When pressed on who has held the stronger alpha presence so far, Tszyu leaned toward Canelo, citing his proven track record and long list of accomplishments. Still, he pointed out that Crawford's unwavering self-belief is just as powerful, fueling his determination to prove he belongs on the same stage.
Yeah, I think they're both trying to show the alpha and dominance in different ways, and it's funny to see one trying to boss each other, the other one trying to boss each other, so what happens when two megastars collide.
Who do you think's done a better job being that alpha male so far?
I think Canelo's doing good, but he's got the resume to back it up, while Crawford believes in his skills and abilities that much more. That's why he's backing himself so much.
Tim Tszyu added that predicting the winner comes down to which version of Canelo Alvarez shows up on fight night. He recalled that the Canelo who faced Gennady Golovkin in their rematch was arguably the sharpest and most dangerous version, showing elite skill and relentless intensity. But in more recent outings, Canelo hasn't quite looked like the same fighter from those peak years. Meanwhile, even with Terence Crawford being in his late 30s, Tszyu highlighted that Crawford has taken relatively little punishment over his career and still looks physically fresh. That contrast, he said, makes the matchup even more intriguing, because the outcome could hinge entirely on which version of each fighter steps into the ring.
Because it depends on the Canelo that comes out, like the Canelo that fought Triple G in the second one. I thought that was probably the best Canelo that I've seen to date, but the Canelo that I've seen in recent years hasn't been the Canelo from the Triple G days. So that's what it's all about. But then again, Crawford's like 38 years old, but he's still fresh and he hasn't been hit. So that's the rule.
To wrap up his thoughts, Tim Tszyu argued that Canelo Alvarez has become somewhat predictable in recent years, often leaning on his trademark punches and raw strength to overwhelm opponents. Against Terence Crawford, though, Tszyu believes that approach won't be enough. Crawford, he explained, is too smart, too tactical, and won't simply be bullied with power. When pressed for a prediction, Tszyu gave a slight edge to Crawford, saying he would rate it about 65% in the American's favor, mainly because of his ring IQ and adaptable style.
He's just become predictable, you know. He's got these certain shots and he's used his brute force and physical strength to just bully everyone, you know. But right now, in front of him, it's not someone that you can use your strength against because he's very, very smart, Crawford.
If you had to put a percentage on it, 50-50, 60-40 Crawford, 70-30 Canelo.
Yeah.
What do you put on it, Tim?
I'd go 65%.
Shane mostly weighed in on the potential showdown between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, calling it a battle between two of the sport's elite. While he praised both men for their skill, mostly leaned toward Canelo, pointing to his physical strength and natural size as key factors. He emphasized that Canelo's frame and power are often underestimated, and in his view, the gap of 2 weight classes is simply too much for Crawford to overcome. Though mostly acknowledged Crawford's technical brilliance, he predicted Canelo would ultimately have the advantage and likely win the fight with less difficulty than many expect.
Great fight. I think both guys are great fighters, but I think Canelo's just too big, and you know, they mistake him as being just a guy at 168, not a regular guy, and Crawford being the more talented. But that's not the case. They're both talented. Yeah. But the only thing is, Canelo has them by 2 weight divisions. So I think that Canelo beats him pretty easily. But we'll see. If Crawford does good, I mean, kudos to Crawford. You know, I'm happy for him. If he can pull off, great. But my mind's telling me that Canelo's gonna.
Mostly added that if Terence Crawford is going to pull off the upset, he'll need to be extremely disciplined with his game plan. That means controlling the pace, using clever footwork to manage distance, and staying just outside of Canelo's power range. He clarified that it's not about running, but about staying mobile and making Canelo work harder to land clean shots. Mostly admitted that if Crawford can stay sharp and composed, he has the ability to shock people. Even so, mostly still leaned toward Canelo, stressing that while Crawford is as tough and skilled as they come, the size jump could ultimately be too much to overcome.
I think that maybe you don't have to be all the way boring, but it has to be boring spots. Yeah. So just because he's moving around and keeping a distance don't mean that he's running, right? Yeah. So if he can move and just stay a little bit outside the pocket long enough, then maybe he can win. But I'm thinking Canelo's gonna win. I think Canelo's gonna get a fight because Crawford is a fighter. He's a true fighter. He's a real fighter, but he's in a going way.
Manny Pacquiao also gave his perspective on the Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford matchup, calling it a great fight but one that favors Canelo because Crawford is the one moving up in weight. Pacquiao explained that when a fighter climbs divisions, the biggest challenge is holding on to speed and explosiveness. He advised that if Crawford wants to succeed, he'll need to focus on keeping his quickness while also building the strength to deal with bigger opponents. In Pacquiao's view, sharp footwork, precise timing, and maintaining punching power will all be essential if Crawford hopes to compete effectively against Canelo.
Canelo Crawford, good fight. Good fight. No. Canelo has advantage because Crawford moving up, but my advice to Crawford is like maintain the speed, improve the speed, and improve the strength. Because it's hard to go up in high weight and maintain your speed. So speed is the key. Like he should focus on speed, footwork, and improve the power.
Carmel Moton also shared his view on the September clash between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, calling it one of the biggest events in boxing. He acknowledged that moving up in weight is always a challenge and can be a major obstacle for fighters, but said he still gives Crawford a genuine chance to pull it off. For Moton, this matchup feels like a true 50-50th fight, with the result depending entirely on which version of each fighter shows up on the night. In the end, he believes the real winners will be the fans, who get to witness such a high-stakes and thrilling battle.
A big jump for sure, but I feel like Crawford definitely has a great chance. I feel like it's a 50-50 fight. I really don't know who will come out on top of that one. I feel like the better man that night will win. So I feel like the fans are the winners in that one.
Oscar de la Hoya analyzed the matchup from a stylistic perspective, raising the question of whether Terence Crawford can keep Canelo Alvarez off him for all 12 rounds. He praised Crawford's sharp footwork, high ring IQ, and versatility, pointing out that those tools have historically troubled Canelo. De La Hoya reminded fans that Canelo has had difficulties in the past against slick, mobile fighters, citing names like Dimitri Bivol, Floyd Mayweather, Erisland Ilara, and even John Ryder, who managed to cause problems despite being less skilled. While he acknowledged that Canelo has improved over time, De La Hoya still views him as somewhat flat-footed, which could leave openings for a fighter as mobile and technically polished as Crawford.
You think, how is Crawford going to keep him away for 12 rounds? Canelo's going to come at him hard. Right. But then again, I think about Crawford's abilities and his IQ and his footwork, which Canelo cannot handle. And we know that for a fact. It happened with Bivol, it happened with Mayweather, who schooled him left and right with no problem. And Canelo was way stronger than Mayweather. So there's
Don't you think Canelo's a better fighter than he was then? Today?
A better fight? Yeah, a little better. Yeah, his footwork is still the same. He's flat-footed. He's very heavy on his feet. But you saw his last fight with Skull. Mm-hmm. He couldn't touch Skull. He was a runner. He was a Cuban runner, but he couldn't touch Skull. It was incredible. It was amazing. It was just like the fight with Lara. He couldn't touch Lara. So there's a reason why fighters think that if they move a little against Canelo, they have boxing abilities against Canelo, they might beat him.
De La Hoya went on to say that while power is always a factor in boxing, what truly separates Terence Crawford is his composure under pressure. He noted that Crawford never panics, doesn't waste energy running, and has the awareness to stand his ground when needed. De La Hoya praised Crawford's toughness, describing him as fearless, determined, and strategic, a fighter with both grit and intelligence. What excites him most about the matchup isn't just Crawford's fighting spirit, but his ability to think in the ring. That high-level ring IQ, De La Hoya suggested, could create major problems for Canelo and make this one of the most fascinating stylistic clashes in recent memory.
Power's a lot. In this game, power means a lot. If you can't keep your guy off you, or you don't know how because it's too much pressure, right. I'm not saying Crawford is going to fold, but a lot of fighters, they can't handle the pressure. And the one thing about Crawford is that he knows how to handle the pressure. He's a savvy boxer, and he doesn't run. And he has that heart. He's a dog. He has that heart. You want to fight me? I'm going to fight you.
Lonnie B gave Crawford credit as a brilliant technician in the ring, but voiced concerns about him jumping 2 full divisions to face Canelo Alvarez at 168 without first testing the waters. He referenced Crawford's fight at 154, noting that even there, the size difference presented challenges. While Lonnie acknowledged Crawford's fighting spirit and willingness to take risks, he cautioned that those same instincts could backfire if Crawford chooses to exchange with a naturally bigger, harder-hitting opponent like Canelo. In his view, Crawford has the tools to win the early rounds by boxing smart and staying disciplined. But the question is whether his body can handle the physical toll of going up against a seasoned super middleweight over 12 hard rounds.
I think Crawford is good, but if you look at his fight with what's his name? Matronov?
Matronov, yeah.
I'm sorry, Matronov at 154. Like, he gave him trouble. Like, you know what I'm saying? He gave him trouble. I think he's going up 2 different weight classes. I think Crawford's an excellent boxer, but I think his heart is too big sometimes. I think if he get in a slugging match with Canelo, it's going to go bad for him. But I can see him, this is how I think the fight going to go, and I could be wrong. I can see him outboxing Canelo for about 5-6 rounds. Only thing I'm worried about is those last rounds. After 6, when Canelo start hitting him on his shoulders and the hips. Because you can go up in weight, but when you used to fight out a smaller weight, putting all that weight can make you tired. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he took a tune-up at 168. You know, it's like he went for the juggler at one.
Lonnie B also highlighted Canelo Alvarez's experience dealing with naturally bigger fighters as a key advantage. He explained that Canelo's trademark bodywork, especially targeting the shoulders, arms, and hips, is designed to systematically wear opponents down over the course of a fight. Against a smaller man like Crawford, that type of pressure could become especially dangerous in the later rounds. Lonnie pointed to names like Caleb Plant and Edgar Berlanga as examples of Canelo handling strong, full-sized super middleweights with ease. In the end, Lonnie leaned toward Canelo, arguing that while Crawford's skill set is undeniable, stepping straight into 168 without acclimating makes him more of a blown-up welterweight facing an uphill battle in deep waters.
As the rounds go on, I think it can get bad for Crawford because Canelo can punch. He's used to fighting bigger bodies. Caleb's a big guy. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's a bum, Berlanga, but Berlanga's a big guy. So with Crawford it being a blown up 68, you know, I think I'm leaning more towards Canelo.
That wraps up today's breakdown. What do you think about this matchup? Does Canelo's size and experience prove too much? Or can Terence Crawford's skill and ring IQ carry him to victory? Drop your predictions in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more fight content, and check out the other videos popping up on your screen now.